Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer, here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through tonight's 8-game slate. An 8-game slate that it's late March NBA. There are 13 regular season slates left upon us. And look, the ground is going to shift under your feet repeatedly. Tonight, there's already been some big news. So we'll get into it shortly. But before we do, with me to break it down as always, Mike Gallagher. Mike, how are you?
NBA's got a case of the Mondays today for sure. This is horrible. I don't like today. I had to mail it. I was trying to write matchups yesterday. I couldn't even do it just because there's so many Q tags. So yeah, this part sucks, but it's challenging, which I like. But I wish it'd be better if we had the outs instead of these questionables. Because I think the teams know who's sitting. I wish they would just tell us. But anyways, doing great. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I woke up and saw the media blitz that has taken upon the Embiid MVP train with Sham's article Q&A with Joel Embiid in The Athletic today, which continues some incredible NBA quotes that we've had over the last 24 hours. LeBron, who got a second opinion from the LeBron of foot doctors, didn't even go to the Michael Jordan of foot doctors, went to the LeBron of foot doctors. And then you get the Kurt Goldsberry put out a post on ESPN today about how Jokic's defense is so bad, and so it's been just an inundation of anti-Jokic content today that I've been consuming. Let's start there. Let's start with the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid has been ruled out for tonight's game against Denver, the game that everybody was looking forward to watching. The two MVP candidates go head-to-head. I am not super surprised. I had noted internally that, there was that quote about Embiid saying he's going to need a game off sometime soon. And if you're the leader in the MVP race, what better time to take the game off than the one time you'd have a chance to look worse than you normally would against an MVP candidate, because they have played a lot of late. He's played a ton of basketball of late. He did not sit the back-to-back in Phoenix, though. Sitting tonight. James Harden questionable, went through shoot around. So what are your thoughts on how we see the 76ers try to replace the giant hole without Joel Embiid?
Yeah, as you mentioned, writing was kind of on the wall a little bit with the quote saying he's been playing through injury. We've seen him get this Q tag for most of the last 2 months here, but yeah, not surprising. So we saw the last time they faced off when Embiid had 47-18 in the huge game against Joker. But one thing they did that was really interesting was they put Tucker on Jokic and really held him down. Jokic only scored 8 points in the second half with Tucker guarding him pretty much exclusively. So I think they lean into that again. So I think they go kind of multi-guard here. You're giving up a little bit of size if you go with the wings. Someone. We'll see. We'll talk about Michael Porter Jr. in a second, but that may swing things too. So I think they might actually start. Assuming Harden's a go, went through shoot around. Looks like he's going to be back after this little foot thing kind of set him down. So Harden, Maxey, Melton, Tobias, Tucker. I think they might go that way and go super small. I wouldn't be shocked if they go Paul Reed to maybe start things going there. But they seem to really like the Tucker matchup on Jokic. So expect them to. I would lean them starting that way. Are you with me on that, or do you think that they kind of go traditional center?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's either Reed or Tucker. I don't think Harrell is in the conversation, although we have seen Harrell start in these spots in the past. The other thing to note, they have Dwayne Dedmon on the roster as well, which is a bigger body than the other center options that they have. Harrell's a little bit undersized. Paul Reed is long and athletic and bouncy, but he's not the meatiest of dudes. Dedmon's a little bit of a bigger guy. So they could use him to fill some minutes there. But yeah, I think you're right in that they'll go with the Tucker at center minutes. A lot of this depends on Harden's availability as well, but it sounds like he's trending towards being available tonight. And then obviously, from a usage perspective, there's a big opportunity to fill without Joel Embiid, and we've seen Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, James Harden all benefit in those scenarios. And I would note that even if Paul Reed doesn't start here, there's still the chance that his minutes get elevated if stuff isn't working with Tucker on Jokic and different things. And I think they'd go to him before Dedmon, I think. And I think Paul Reed would be very effective in any minutes against Thomas Bryant as well, who's really struggled defensively and lost playing time to now Zeke Naji. I think either one of those guys, Paul Reed would be effective against as well. So would not necessarily, even if Paul Reed is not in the starting lineup, would not necessarily say he's for sure out of play in DFS tonight.
Mm-hmm. I should mention there was a quote from Doc Rivers, and they wanted to kind of get a look at Dedmon for whatever that's worth. Not much.
Okay, that's a little concerning.
Yeah, so it's a pretty dicey situation. It'd be really tough to lean into on a somewhat biggish slate. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think that obviously if they're going to start multiple guards, then that means a couple things. One, probably means Maxi's playing a ton. If they're going to, inject more guards into that first unit, Tobias can play a bunch. We've seen Tobias really step up when Harden and or Embiid are missing. So definitely, guys are plenty of guys are in play, but obviously we're not. Maybe Tucker's in play for maybe a little rebounding boost if he's the center, but I can't imagine he's like over 4K. But you guys will talk about that.
Yeah, later. They have so many ways to play too with McDaniels and Yang, and like they have a lot of front court depth. So you could get a lot of mix and match in this matchup, which will be interesting. All right, let's move to the Bucks, which we thought was going to be the lead until the Woj report dropped with Embiid missing tonight's game. The Bucks, you talked about wishing guys would just be listed out that are questionable. That would be great. But if we can just have an intermediary step of just announce them all at the same time. If you're gonna like that, like I don't care if you go questionable to out, but the questionable to out on one guy and then an out 30 minutes later on the next guy is like the most annoying thing in the world for me from a workflow perspective. So we got Drew listed out for personal reasons, Giannis listed out later on. I don't know if that means that Chris Middleton is available. We'll see if in another 30 minutes there's more names, but we have seen a few games this year that the Bucks have played without Giannis and Drew. We've seen a lot of Javon Carter in those games. We've seen a lot of Bobby Portis. We've seen a lot of Brook Lopez in those games. What are your expectations for Milwaukee tonight?
Yeah, just real quick. I talk about this all the time at 1:20 Eastern. If Giannis is probable, be at your sportsbook. I talked about it in matchups today. I talk about it every time, and it feels like every time he doesn't play. So I've got some stale Middleton lines that are again he's probably gonna get ruled out. We'll see, but yeah, the Milwaukee Bucks probable tag is total garbage. Maybe one day I'll look up and see how unlikely it is, but anyways, we know most of this stuff here. We're pretty sure Javon Carter is going to start for Drew. Bobby Portis is going to start for Giannis. Getting a little thin. We'll see a bit more minutes out of Joe Ingles, Connaughton. We'll see if Brook Lopez can keep his foot on the gas. Maybe we won't take an under on him today. But
we do not have anything currently projected as far as unders go for Brook Lopez. I checked immediately to make sure that we weren't showing anything. So
yeah, he's our new nemesis here, the new Mason Plumlee for me and Clap. But pretty straightforward there. Those guys are going to be starting. Maybe we get more. Maybe Middleton sits out and they just punt this game off. But they're still. I haven't looked at the spread, but they should still be pretty big favorites against a Detroit team that's really, really struggling with who has injury concerns on their own.
What do you think the bench looks like tonight? You mentioned Portis, Middleton, Lopez, Grayson Allen, and Javon Carter as the starters. Joe Ingles, certainly a prominent bench role tonight. But do you think it's Beauchamp? Do you think it's Thanasis? Do you think it's, Connaughton's obviously, Connaughton, Ingles, and Wes Matthews, I think, are three guys that are probably going to play. And then the backup center spot, like they can just stagger Portis Lopez if they want. But what are your thoughts on how they handle like those last two spots in the rotation?
Yeah, they're missing ball handling, right? You're taking away Giannis's ball handling, Drew's ball handling. You got Grayson Allen and a little bit of Jingles as well. So yeah, I would probably lean there. So, maybe AJ Green, something like that.
Goran Dragic?
More... Goran Dragic. Yeah, that's actually a good call. Yeah, he's probably in there today. So that makes sense. Yeah, I'd probably give.
I mean, they're missing ball handling, but they're also missing bigs. Like this is like
right.
It's both ends because they don't have Myers Leonard as well. Yep. So on the big side of things, this is where there's a chance I think that Portis doesn't start for Giannis. It's just like they just keep these two guys staggered and throw in like Connaughton in the starting lineup or something like that. But yeah, the Bucks are in the midst of they're 5 games in 7 days. Like, it's a really tight schedule for the Bucks. So it's not surprising to see players need time off in this stretch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think Dragic definitely is. I'd lean him getting minutes today for sure. I think they're fine, playing Brook and Portis and filling minutes in. So yeah, I think they can manage.
Let's move to the Detroit side of things, where they have the relatively usual cast of characters out: Bojan Bogdanovic, Alec Burks, Hamidou Diallo, Isaiah Stewart, Cade Cunningham, of course. They've got questionable tags on Corey Joseph and Rodney Magruder. Do you have any read on their availability tonight? And if they're without both of those guys, how thin are we talking for the Pistons tonight?
I do not have a read. And that is generally going to be a theme for the next 2 weeks with this stuff. But yeah, it seems like there's a chance they sit Kojo. Should note, Jaden Ivey's role grew hardcore. More drives, almost 10 minutes of touch time. Really took over the reins of the offense. So, it gets without Drew now against the drop-happy defense. I think Jaden Ivey's certainly in play. But yeah, expecting those starters regardless. We'll see if this affects RJ Hampton with the Kojo Magruder stuff. But we know Isaiah Livers is going to start and play a pretty good bit. We'll have a more minute ceiling. And then Omiuri also gets a little bit of a boost as a little bit of a double forward kind of a look you can get.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this last box score that you have up on the screen here, and this is an 8.5-man rotation in a game they lose by 25. And Ivy gets up to 41 minutes. And this was a game without Kojo and without Magruder. So it seems like the ceiling is just really, really elevated for these guys. If Detroit is basically like, look, we're at a point in the season, we haven't had this group of guys, especially with Bagley and Weissman, together for very long. We're just going to play them as much as we can. And whatever the results are of the games, it doesn't really matter. We don't need to see Buddy Boeheim and Jared Rhoden. Like, we don't need to see these guys. Do you have any read on if that's going to be the case? Because this box score is a little bit surprising to see them play so tight in a game that was out of hand.
No, I didn't get really any inclination from Casey, but I would expect if those guys are out, it would look pretty similar. I think they're comfortable playing those guys pretty big minutes. Tough matchup for James Weissman as well. Maybe they go overlap. We saw before Duran got hurt, they were running a little bit of overlap. Maybe they go that route, especially against a bigger front court. Not saying they're going to start that way, but maybe as the rotation goes through, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of that to keep minutes a little more spread to some of the iffy-ish guys. But I expect Ivy to play a ton.
All right, let's move to Dallas, where this was the first domino of the day. Luka Doncic was on track to be suspended for tonight's game due to accruing his 16th technical foul of the season in yesterday's loss to Charlotte. It was confirmed after the game as a good technical foul, and then today it was rescinded as the 16th technical foul. So he is now eligible to play tonight on the second night of back-to-back in Indiana. They have Maxi Kleber that is listed questionable on the second night of a back-to-back. What are your thoughts on Kleber's availability tonight and how that impacts things for Dallas?
Yeah, wild, right? Luka gets what should have been suspended for profanity to a ref. I wonder if they misheard him because they had a pool report with the crew chief and he said oh yeah, he's profanity and he got a tech for a call that was correct. So very odd. We saw Draymond have the comments on Instagram saying that it's funny that he got rescinded. Anyways, yeah, Kleber hamstring thing, back to back, certainly related. Could see him sitting out. That would probably put Tim Hardaway Jr. in the starting lineup. If Kleber's going to go, they'd probably stick with the same starting lineup they had yesterday. We'll see.
Which half of the game are you talking about for starting?
Oh, yeah.
They changed the starting lineups at the half. Kleber and Tim Hardaway Jr. go into the starting lineup. Josh Green and Dwight Powell come out of the starting lineup to start the second half. So we've seen them do it a couple times, but they always go back to the starting lineup in the next game. So I'd be pretty surprised if they don't, go back to the Luka Green, Kyrie Powell, Bullock lineup. If everyone's in there. Okay. And then we saw last night or yesterday, Dwight Powell, 4 minutes. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're obviously searching, right? And they're playing really poorly. They're trying to load up on the guys that they trust, which appears to be Kleber, Hardaway Jr., Irving, Luka, and Bullock. and not a lot else beyond that. Do you think we'll continue to see these really wide ranges of outcomes on minutes for guys like Dwight Powell, Josh Green, Jaden Hardy, Christian Wood, these secondary guys that Jason Kidd seems to have wavering confidence in?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, if Klebe is in, he's obviously kind of in the inner circle of guys he trusts, but clearly the guys he trusts are Luka, Kyrie, Bullock, and Maxey, and Tim Hardaway Jr. After that, it's kind of pick your spot. Against the Pacers, well, they have questionable tags on their own, but
Yep.
Yeah, I don't feel great about Christian Wood having a big ceiling. Obviously, that changes if Klebe is out, but yeah, I think that's mostly. But yeah, Christian Wood would be viable if Klebe is out. If not, if Klebe is in, then he's a pretty tough target.
If Kleber's out, do you think Dwight Powell's minutes are more solidified in that
For
scenario
sure,
where he's back in the 18 to 25 range?
Yeah, he'd be pretty effective as well.
Okay. All right, let's move to Indiana. Tyrese Halliburton questionable, Miles Turner questionable, Buddy Hield and Chris Duarte ruled out. What are your thoughts? We saw Halliburton play over the weekend. We did not see Miles Turner last game. What are your thoughts on availability for Indiana tonight?
Yeah, some comments from Rick Carlisle that I thought tipped his hand a little bit, talking about developing Isaiah Jackson and Jalen Smith. So I think Turner's might miss this one, which would be huge, obviously, in a dream matchup. Dallas's defense has been a joke, especially inside. So those guys would be certainly viable. Don't have a great read on Halliburton. I think they kind of gave Andrew Nembhard a swing at the first unit stuff, and we could see him maybe go away. But yeah, I don't have a read on the situation. We'll definitely have it later. I would expect them probably to rule them out right away. I think that they're, it's just maintenance. It's not like they're hurt like some other guys. But definitely, I would say Turner is less likely than anybody else here.
And Hield's been moved out of that starting lineup in favor of Nesmith and Mathurin. Duarte only played 5 minutes last game, so we're taking 34 wing-ish minutes away here. Bennett Mathurin has had one of the wildest usage drops as a starter this year compared to off the bench, and it's in the second quarter of last game. Jordan Nwora scored 25 real points in the second quarter, so it iced Mathurin entirely in the second quarter of that game. What are your thoughts on how the wings shake out here without Hield and Duarte, a little bit less depth for the Pacers on the wings?
Yeah, definitely Jordan, the scorer, should be picking up a pretty big role. Buddy Hield is staying on the bench. Obviously, he's out today, but Rick Carlisle said they're going to keep him there. So Ben Mathurin will any outside chance of sixth man of the year, which was basically zero, that's dead. So yeah, expecting a lot of Nwora, no Duarte. So maybe they bring O'Shea Brissett in. I think that's probably likely here. A little bit more, maybe McConnell overlap as well. So could tighten up. Again, really good matchup. So definitely a spot to attack today.
Okay. Let's move to the Knicks, where Jalen Brunson has a questionable tag tonight. Knicks been dropping in the standings a little bit, flirting with that 6th seed that they'd love to avoid, I'm sure. What are your thoughts on Jalen Brunson's availability tonight?
Yeah, decent chance he misses. Tom Thibodeau said multiple times he's quote unquote with the medical people, and it was like out of his hands on how much he's going to have him. So certainly injured. Maybe he plays through it. We know Brunson's a pretty tough dude. So obviously pretty straightforward here. If he's sitting, you're looking at Emmanuel quickly getting in the starting lineup with what should be huge minutes. Quentin Grimes is suddenly hot here, playing pretty big minutes there. RJ Barrett also would benefit. A little bit of Mitch Robinson in a pretty easy matchup against the Rockets. Just gave up 150 to the Grizzlies last week. So yeah, we've seen this movie before, but certainly quickly, and really the whole team benefits if he's out of there.
Yep. All right, let's move to Utah, where Lauri Markkanen got the game time decision questionable tag. They're without Rudy Gay, Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, and added to the list today Simone Fontecchio. This is a team that is not super deep right now. A lot of guys listed out on the injury report. If Markkanen's unable to go, they had been starting Fontecchio in his place. Where do they go if that's the case? It seems like they're still teetering on like in the conversation for the play-in, but it seems like they've been prioritizing health of late. So what are your thoughts on Markkanen's availability and how they handle things if he's unable to go?
Yeah, sounds like he's got a good chance to come back. Some video on the interwebs of him getting shots up. I didn't see too much of an issue with his hand. So I would expect him to go here. If not, I mean, Johnny Juzang season, probably, I guess. Obviously, O'Shea Akbaji is going to start regardless with Jordan Clarkson still out, and then Taylor Horton Tucker, Blocker Kessler, and Olynyk got the other spots. But expecting Laurie to go today after missing the weekend with the hand injury.
Yeah, and it's an important one for Utah from a DFS perspective, because if he doesn't go, right, there's going to be a lot of potential value here. Who would slide into that starting spot?
I think Johnny Juzang, right? I mean, I don't know who else it would be.
It seems like it's him. Maybe
Brantley?
Jarrell Brantley. I don't know.
Yeah.
It gets kind of messy, but they're playing
Bowery
as a 3. Yeah, they could start Dunn. Yeah, it's messy. They have
Dunn kind of makes sense actually to put him on Booker. I think that actually.
Yeah.
Well, they've been putting O'Shea Akbaji on a lot of top wings too, so I think I would lean that way. With Juzang and then Akbaji that would be a great spot for Booker though overall. So yeah, but again, I think Laurie's going to play. It's kind of the headline.
All right. We talked through Philadelphia. Just should note that in addition to James Harden being questionable, Daniel House is questionable as well. So some wing minutes that might be available there.
Denver to start too. They could start him.
Yeah.
We talked about the multi-guard lineup, but putting him out there to guard Aaron Gordon makes a little bit of sense.
Denver side, Michael Porter Jr. is listed questionable. Any read here, and how would Denver fill the role? It seems like it's always Bruce Brown. The answer is always Bruce Brown, whoever Denver's missing.
Yeah, pretty straightforward flow chart. Just like someone's out, it's Bruce Brown. But heel injury, right? This is the thing that's been bothering him before. Missed a lot of time early this year. It's popped up on the injury report and has played through it. So expecting him to play. Certainly a big game overall, but it's not quite as big now, both literally and figuratively. But I'd expect him to go, but definitely a chance he misses. Tough to tell with this injury that's been bothering him a little bit. And as you said, like pretty easy. It's going to be Bruce Brown if he can't go.
Any other ripple effects because Bruce Brown plays a pretty big role off the bench. Any other ripple effects to what the bench unit, who could potentially see more playing time from that perspective?
Yeah, Christian Brown would be elevated a little bit. I think it would bring Reggie Jackson in. You're basically putting not like 1-to-1, but you're basically going to put Brown in Bruce's spot and then, basically put Reggie in Christian Brown's spot. So I think that's kind of how the rotation would work there after Reggie got booted, but certainly wouldn't be viable. Probably a little bit more minute stealing on some of the starters too. Okay.
De'Aaron Fox questionable tonight for Sacramento. We've seen Fox kind of listed consistently questionable of late, has played through it a little bit, has missed the last game. What are your thoughts on De'Aaron Fox's availability tonight?
Sounds like he's got a pretty good chance to return. We've seen him miss some time over the weekend. They got really good minutes out of Matthew Dellavedova and Davion Mitchell over the weekend. But initially this is an aggravation, but they said that he could have returned if it was a playoff game when it first happened. So I think he's got a good chance to come back. And then obviously that would be affecting Davion, a little bit of minute stealing coming off Sabonis overall. But it's I feel pretty good about him playing in a tough matchup. Fox would be returning, likely getting Jaden McDaniels, assuming Jaden McDaniels doesn't pick up 5 fouls in 10 minutes again.
Thoughts on the availability for Alex Caruso tonight? Second night of back-to-back has been listed questionable and not played through a lot of stuff. Played really good minutes yesterday. They're a little shorthanded with Vucevic getting ejected. What are your thoughts on whether we see Caruso tonight in the matchup against the Clippers?
Yeah, not a great read on this one for the back-to-back, but certainly an injury he's been playing through. Aggravated this foot injury. Was expecting a Q tag here, but I think he goes. Stakes are pretty high for the Bulls right now, and they would need him. He'd probably pick up the Kawhi assignment, so I'd expect him to go, but wouldn't be surprised if he says.
The Bulls have worked themselves not only into a very likely going to make the play-in situation, but the chance to get up to 8, which, as we've alluded to before, 8 is just so different than 9 and 10 because you get 2 bites at the apple to win a game to get into the play-in. So the Bulls are one of these teams that you would expect if guys can go. They're treating games like playoff games these days. On the other side of that, the Clippers game, Kawhi's got that probable tag. Those probable tags are scary nowadays. Still no Norman Powell. Of course, no Paul George. Any notes on the Clippers?
Yeah, just took a shot to the face. Ty Lue mostly downplayed it, but would expect him to go. This is the Clippers. It's a world where the Clippers probables are pretty good. They usually their claim to fame is just not listing dudes. So the fact that they list him as probable is a good sign. So I'm not expecting shenanigans here again. Shout out to De La Soul. Stakes is high. Clippers need every win they can get right now, with especially with margins really thin without Paul George now.
Back on the court tonight for Phoenix, DeAndre Ayton. They're expecting Kevin Durant back next game on Wednesday, but not tonight. Full go for DeAndre Ayton tonight, or any sort of minutes limitations expectation from you?
Yeah, I would expect a minutes limit. Not a hard one. Been out for a week here, but this thing's been bothering him a little bit. He said it was his hip and his groin, so a little bit of lack of clarity there. But I expect him to play kind of upper 20s minutes. High stuff's off the table. Obviously, they had the huge game at a Bismack Biyombo. Both really offensively and defensively, but specifically offensively. 17 points at a Biz is quite a game, which reminds us of we talked a lot about this last year, and Sixers fans will jump all over us. But the Derek Favors against Embiid games. Every once in a while, Embiid sees these centers who have no offensive ceiling just kind of put up big numbers on him. But
it gets back to the fact that he's fatigued, he's tired, and he does need a game off. It all gets back to it all fits. I was surprised he played the second end of the back-to-back in Phoenix, but like I said, I think there's some ulterior motivations in terms of holding that number one spot in the pecking order on the MVP race. All right, other notes: Rockets on the front end of a back-to-back, so no Jae'Sean Tate tonight. Any other notes you want to drop there for the Rockets? Or the Blazers, or the Timberwolves, who are on the back end of a back-to-back. Do you think there's any restrictions on any players from those three teams?
No, I think they should be pretty much good to go. Sorry, I think I cut out there, or you cut out, one of us did. But I should be pretty much good to go there.
Okay, and then Minnesota, I guess, would be the one concern. Cat, second night of a back-to-back. Have you heard anything about their intentions about whether he's able to play back-to-backs at this point?
I have not, but pretty full minutes here. And, I wanted to bet this over yesterday that we unofficially hit, because there's really no minutes limit on him. I think he's going to sit today for the back-to-back, but he doesn't really have like a hard cap on him. It's just the only cap he has is they don't want him playing long stints. So we're seeing him play this like on for 5, off for 5, on for 5, off for 5 kind of thing that they've been doing. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. Expecting Ant to play off a rough game yesterday. Gobert will get the Q tag. We know that, but he should be out there as well. But yeah, expecting a lot of Q tags here, possibly in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. All right, we will try to get out of here.
Fox is in now. So
okay, there we go. I was going to try to get out of here before we have to talk more, but that's good. Guys getting ruled in is great. I'll take more of that. But that'll do it for today's edition of South.
You want to talk Blazers though?
Did you have anything for the Blazers? I did before. Okay.
Yeah, so we should see a lot of out tags here, right? Jeremy Grant dealing with the quad, Ant dealing with the foot, Dame, calf, shutdown risk as well. But yeah, Shaedon Sharp season, man. On top of that too, Brandon Ingram cover boy, because I think Shaedon Sharp's going to guard Brandon Ingram. So Ingram's been playing really, really well. I had an SGA over that barely hit with Shaedon Sharp guarding him. So yeah, they're putting Shaedon Sharp on top options. That's going to be a thing. That's going to be a thing we are going to be really leaning into. For who to target for props and stuff. So looking for a lot of Brandon Ingram against Shaedon Sharp today.
All right. We're getting out of here just before the injury report update at 2:30. So be logged in, be ready. But as always, support the people who are supporting us. This show is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts for money running in addition to playoff contests like the dance and many formats of NFL contests. Golf majors contest in the Albatross, MLB preseason contest, all running for huge prizes. If you're playing NBA Pick'em, in-season subscribers to Establish a Run can use our tool to compare ETR projections to their fantasy Pick'em game. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, use promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus up to $100. It's promo code ETR at UnderdogFantasy.com. All right, beyond the paywall today at 5 o'clock Eastern, myself and Gary Hartman will walk you through this 8-game slate. Good chalk, the bad chalk, the contrarian plays, and of course, those flag plans. So join us there behind the paywall, establishRun.com/subscribe if you need to get your package. We've got weekly, monthly, and rest of season NBA package. Rest of season packages carry throughout the playoffs. If you're uninterested in giving us your hard-earned dollars, we do ask for your hard-earned clicks. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. And of course, smash that like button and help feed that algorithm. You help feed the algorithm. It helps feed our families. We keep feeding you the NBA injury report analysis and information you need to make your DFS lineups, your prop bets, your spread bets. So feed that algorithm. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you tomorrow.